Hello everyone, I'm the voice of reason, and welcome to At the Screening, a new and final approach to the reviews for the last season of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And I'm not doing it alone. Tell me along, tackling every single episode of the final season is my good friend, voice actor, and reviewer from the same gene pool, Thespio.
Hello, every pony. It is a pleasure to be here, and thanks again, Voice, for having me. I am very excited to talk about this new season with you.
It's my pleasure. It's been quite a run for all of us. We've experienced all-time highs and all-time lows over the course of 8 seasons. So, what do we know for sure about Season 9 and how the series will conclude? Well, if the season premiere is any indication, look no further than the title, The Beginning of the End.
After much consideration, my sister and I have decided it is time for us to retire.
That's right, the main 6 are back to answer yet another urgent summons from Celestia and Luna, as it is here they drop quite the bombshell as they announce their plans to retire and step down from the throne, leaving Twilight and her friends to rule all of Equestria in their place. And as per Batum, Twilight turns to her usual tendencies of having an anxiety attack, or as her friends now call it, twilighting. Meanwhile, far down below, some of the old villains, such as Chrysalis, Tyrek, newcomer Cozy Glow, and in a very big twist, King Sombra, whom we thought had died back in Season 3, have been called together by a brand new villain, Grogar.
For those who don't know, Grogar was a Generation 1 villain, much like Tyrek was. A ram sorcerer banished from Equestria for 1,000 plus years until the time was right to take over the world. Of course, there's not much change to his design from his G1 counterpart, minus the huge muzzle and instead replaced with what looks like a giant hump. He calls on these 4 to assemble a legion to take down Twilight and her friends, by essentially using the power of friendship against them. Almost all of them agree to join, except Sombra, who fights for himself and sets his sights on destroying the Fellowship his way. And I'm probably not the first pony to say this, but Sombra's new voice does not match his presence.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement with you there. The Sombra we've come to know back in the Season 3 premiere, he was a lot more dark, gravelly, and overall he was a lot more menacing to fit the tone of the story, as well as match the fear that the citizens of the Crystal Empire had for him. This Sombra almost comes off as a Discord wannabe and is a lot more flamboyant, and while he's still a huge threat using similar tactics he used before he was defeated by Celestia and Luna, it is a bit harder to take him as seriously as we did before. From a voice acting standpoint, I'm sure that the previous voice may have been a bit harder to maintain in the recording booth, but the point still stands, and it makes the second unexpected voice change since Chrysalis lost her voice modulation in Season 5.
Well, as the saying goes, actions speak louder than words, and Sombra's actions in the season premiere spoke volumes. While attacking the Crystal Empire and losing once again appeared to be fruitless, it was towards the end of Part 1 that makes Sombra the foe he's built up to be. That's right, Sombra, the most laughed-at villain for the longest time that I can recall, single-handedly destroyed the Tree of Harmony and the Elements of Harmony in one fell swoop. So for all the people who said just to enjoy the Mean Six for what it is, I was right!
Well, you'll have plenty of time to gloat about that later. But yes, with the physical Deus Ex Machina devices essentially shattered, it's up to our heroes to come up with a brand new plan to stop King Sombra and save their home. Now, for the longest time watching this series, it's become very apparent that the Elements of Harmony are the end-all, be-all answer to defeat almost every villain in the show. But this was actually a very nice, refreshing, new take on this formula, forcing the main 6 to think outside of the box. So to me, this premiere was an absolute blast to watch. It kept me on my toes, it kept defying my expectations, it upped the stakes to the absolute nth degree, and more importantly, unlike other premieres, it left me genuinely excited for what the rest of the season has to offer.
Yeah, without spoiling too much, expect reoccurring appearances from the Alliance of Evil for the rest of the season. Now, while we're on that subject, I do want to address the rest of the Evil Alliance. Tyrek and Cozy Glow, I gotta say, they have excellent chemistry. It reminds me a lot of classic 80s and 90s cartoon villains with a big bad pairing up with a smaller, annoying sidekick. What makes it surprisingly work is the tone. Cozy having such an upbeat and cheerful personality flying next to a muscular centaur, that has great comedic potential.
Really? Really? Hold on, let me stop you right there. You think that Tyrek and Cozy Glow have chemistry? I'm gonna have to disagree with you there. I think their partnership is just all around confusing.
Wait, what?
This is why I was lukewarm about School Rays. We barely know anything else about Cozy Glow or her motivations on why she wants power, and they never actually addressed how the two of them got in contact with each other to begin with. Like, yeah, they were both power hungry and had very nice, cunning, practical plans to achieve that power. Suffice to say, Cozy just doesn't have any meat to her character, unlike
come
Tyrek.
on.
I mean, back in Season 4, we at least knew that Tyrek had a bit of a history in Equestria, as well as, a brother that was mentioned. Cozy Glow, I'm sad to say, is just a blank slate, and the partnership between them just doesn't add up to me. It's like the partnership you have with a frosted cupcake and a plain bagel. Unless you want to add something to that bagel, it's just not going to taste as good. That's at least the way I see it.
Well, as long as you don't put too much frosting on the cupcake, then you'd be saying, you know what, I'll stick with the plain bagel. That I can at least get taste without being overbearing.
All right, fair point. But all I'm saying is, Cozy Glow just needs to have some extra substance to her. And I'm sad to say she's not as fun to watch, unlike Chrysalis, whom I'd like to touch upon quickly here. It's become very apparent that ever since she was defeated in Season 6, with all of her subjects going against her, she has mentally snapped. I mean, we see her carving her own Wilsons and Spaldings before being snatched up by Grogar. To me, that is a lot more entertaining, showing the visible decline of Sanity from having lost nearly everything that mattered to her. And she even switched up her revenge target from Starlight to Twilight, and that just shows how deep in the rabbit hole she may have gone.
Oh, come on. Cozy Glow being a counselor to both Chrysalis and Tyrek wasn't at least a little bit funny?
Look. I'm not saying Cozy Glow can't be funny. There were a lot of times in Season 8 where she did actually make me chuckle. But, I just wish there was a little bit more to her. That's all I'm saying. Who knows, maybe we might get that throughout the rest of the season, but I'm honestly not getting my hopes up. In fact, I remember you mentioning that she's what Starlight Glimmer should have been. I mean, both have become just bland, meme-face generators, but, despite any and all reservations I have on Starlight, she makes for much more interesting discussion topics than Shirley Templepone.
Well, wow. I guess that's a topic for another time. As for the characters, I do find it interesting the Royal Sisters believe the main six are ready to move on to the big leadership positions.
It's funny you mentioned that. Aside from Sombra's voice, it was also the first few minutes of this premiere that I actively did not like. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one who thinks about this, but don't you just find it a little bit odd that the rulers of Equestria, who have shown time and time again that they do absolutely nothing in a crisis, aside from that one rare instance in the Crystalling, that they want to retire and leave the throne to Twilight and her friends, who have basically been doing all of their dirty work from the very beginning of the show? I mean, even Rainbow Dash says at one point, and I quote, "If you really think about it, they literally almost never help." So, concept-wise, what's really changed here? There were a lot of times during this premiere where I felt like the cast was riffing alongside the audience, especially Discord. Like, the meta and lampshading was just through the roof, and it just honestly left me feeling very conflicted whether I should laugh at it or not. But going back to the princesses, there was one part I remember where Twilight is having a visible panic attack while hyperventilating into a paper bag to try and calm down, and the fact that the princesses don't take that more seriously, that could be seen as a bit of bad taste on their part. And plus two, if I'm correct, Equestria is a monarchy, which means that the rulers stay on the throne until they die. And given how they're supposedly immortal, I was honestly half expecting Celestia to be trolling Twilight again, almost like in Horseplay. It just kinda adds to how frustratingly cryptic Celestia and Luna can be. And to add to that, I was just as surprised as Twilight that her friends were taking this new responsibility so calmly. I mean, when you really think about it, Celestia and Luna were basically saying, ditch your previous lives, jobs, and families, you're ruling a kingdom in a few days, live with it. I was honestly half expecting a reaction from them like in school days, how they had reservations about becoming teachers. I mean, along with everything else in their lives, that's gotta be a huge weight on their shoulders. I mean, Rarity still has a lot of shops she has to manage, Applejack has her family farm, Rainbow Dash has her responsibilities as a Wonderbolt, the list goes on.
Well, hang on, keep in mind there's more time to prep for being the ruler of an entire kingdom compared to school literally starting tomorrow. And, while true, they only gave a few days, it's still better than tomorrow. But back to what he said about Twilight and her friends taking on the new responsibility, I guess it ties into the theme of what it means to be a leader. Again, without going into spoilers, the message at the end resonates with Twilight's struggle to determine if she can do things on her own without the help of Celestia, Luna, or someone more powerful like Discord. There's something at the end that Discord does that I feel was the moment of truth for our purple bookworm.
All right, again, fair point. I don't know, just part of me feels like we've been down this path before in previous stories talking about Twilight's princess title. I mean, we've seen it before in Princess Twilight Sparkle, Twilight's Kingdom, and even in the 2017 feature film. It just feels more like retreads than anything else. But I will say this, despite any and all problems and nitpicks I have, that didn't deter away from a very enjoyable Season 9 premiere. It had great adventure, the comedy was well balanced, the suspense kept me on the edge of my seat, and I, for one, cannot wait for what the rest of the season has in store.
Yeah, I nary have an issue with the final season opener. The humor was great, meta or otherwise. The moral about leadership is one of my favorite morals of the show so far. And the assembling of the Legion of Doom, as well as the power disadvantage with no more tree and elements of harmony, will certainly bring new storytelling opportunities for the final season. The only real nitpick I have outside of Sombra's new voice is whether the comics are still canon, though the story that might no longer be canon is Siege of the Crystal Empire, and yeah, less said about that the better. So I think we're both putting our hooves up on this one, right?
Yes, I believe so. So without further ado, we are both proud to give the beginning of the end a very strong hooves up.
If the season starts on this strong of a note, it's going to be quite the ride towards the finale. Anyways, thank you for stopping by the balcony. You're at the screening. I'm the voice of reason.
And I'm Thespio, and we'll see you next time.